today we're going to talk about breathing in regards to flute playing. When playing the flute, you must use a lot of air, and often beginner students will get lightheaded. It is encouraged that students practice sitting down in the early stages so they don't get weak and they don't get lightheaded and try to pass out while standing up. When breathing, you must consider what is a good breath and how do you obtain this good breath. When you're breathing normally, like right now when I'm talking, you don't really think about it and your breaths are usually very shallow. But you want to encourage your flute students to breathe low. And what I mean by low, they need to engage the diaphragm. Now it might be a little bit confusing to tell students to breathe from the diaphragm because they might not know what the diaphragm is if you've never spoken to them about it. Growing up, I've always known about my diaphragm, and I was taught at a young age what my diaphragm is. And one way to describe it is it's like a bowl right underneath your ribs. And when you breathe out, when you breathe in, the bowl expands and it goes down. And that's what causes your tummy to pop out, is because your diaphragm has expanded and it causes the organs to pop out a little bit. And then when you breathe out, the diaphragm goes back up towards the thoracic cavity. When you're breathing properly, you want to have full breaths that engage the intercostal muscles, the inner and outer intercostal muscles in the ribs. So when you breathe, one idea is to hold your ribs and take a deep breath. And you want to feel your ribs expand. And push out the air. This is what would be called a low breath, breathing low. In a side view, so now you know what breathing low looks like and what it should feel like. You should feel your ribs expanding and your lungs filling with air from the top of the lung to the bottom of the lung. You don't want to go because you're only filling up only the upper half of your lungs, and that is what's called shallow breathing, and you will not have enough breath support and your tone on your flute will suffer. And you will run out of air quicker and you'll have to take more breaths compared to breathing low. So one analogy, the best analogy I can think of, is thinking of the cereal bowl and how when you don't have any air, the cereal bowl's kind of like this, and then as the air gets in, it kind of inverts itself, cereal bowl. That's what we talked about in my vocal pedagogy class when we discussed breathing. Another analogy you could use for the feeling your lungs being full is like a balloon. When you blow up the balloon gets bigger, and then when the air, if you would gradually squeeze it, the air would gradually blow out of the balloon. That's another analogy that I would use. Make sure that when you're breathing that your back is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed. You don't want a lot of tension. That will not allow you to breathe fully. You can lean up against a wall like I showed in a previous video. You want to make sure your hips are balanced, because if you're hunched over, you won't be able to breathe fully. And if you're overextended, then that will also impede your breathing. There are a few exercises you can do to improve your breath and breath support. One that Dr. Large likes to use is the surprise breath. Your jaw drops, your tongue is towards the bottom of your mouth, and you take a quick breath like you were surprised. Or the feeling when you are just about to yawn and you go, and then you yawn like I do right now. So a surprise breath, you go, surprise, surprise, And then, as Dr. Large calls a dino breath, you place the hand vertically in front of your mouth. You take a surprise breath, and a low rumbling sound will occur if this is done correctly. We do this a lot in marching band, so I'm very familiar with this. You hold it in front of your mouth and from the side. The sound is your air being sucked into your mouth going on against your hand. So, up close. To increase your breath support, you can do in and out exercises such as in for 4, out for 4. You can go 1, 2, in for 4, out. And you can change those by increments of 2, 4, 8, 16. The larger the increment, the more air you breathe in, and then the longer you have to support the air. And the goal with those exercises is by the end of you breathing out the air, your lungs should be practically empty. Another exercise you can do is by taking a piece of paper and you hold it up against the wall, and you can have your students blow on it. And then you can kind of make it a bit of a contest in your class to see which student can blow the air the longest. They would enjoy that, the competition, fun competition. Also, other things that will improve your breath are cardiovascular exercises, running, jogging, swimming especially. Anything that gets you out of breath, it's going to help your breath support.